Howdy. It's the great and glorious Nick Dutch yet again. Just doing a quick video today on Egregore spirits. Alright, the word Egregore is used to describe or define essentially a group, or a spirit of a group. For instance, the flag of the United Kingdom is a representation of, or a personification of, the egregore of the United Kingdom. The flag of the United States is a representative of the egregore of the American people, for instance. However, I'm talking about this in terms of the supernatural, in terms of ritual magic, so it's important to understand the basic concept behind what an egregore spirit is, and essentially how one could use the idea to try and get some varieties of results. From the top, okay, if we were to see the spiritual force of a religious group as being an energy entity in its own right, you can then take energy from that being through using and incorporating the symbols, the ideas, the rituals, the deity names, and other things which seem to stand for the actual egregore of that particular force. Alright? So if you're using runic symbols, you can therefore use that as a way of locking into the egregore of all the people who use runic symbols. For instance, if you're using the chaos magic sphere, the 8-rayed star, then you are locking into, to a certain degree, the power and the energy of an egregore spiritual force. It is possible in some forms of meditation and prayerful work, using the symbols of other egregores out there, to discern and to learn the ideas, political thinking, and also the actual ritual techniques of different groups. Okay, so let's say I was to perform a meditation on the Christian cross, for instance, and I was trying to make that seem real in my meditation. I would treat the image of the Christian cross as being an entity in its own right. I would communicate with it, I would ask it questions, I would ask it to communicate with me, either in meditation when I'm feeling open, maybe I've done a chakra opening exercise, or when I'm sleeping in my bed at night, so that it can then communicate to me, so I can have like a physical representation such as a Christian cross beside my bed, or indeed under my pillow, and I can ask it to communicate with me through dreams. Again, just like with all works of magic, you only choose to believe that these things are real when you're doing your ritual or magical work, and afterwards you choose to completely disbelieve them. Alright, now what else do you need to know about egregore spirits? You can create them. If you're in a group of practicing occultists, you can actually create a particular spirit, a blob of blue light or whatever, which you can create astrally, such as through imagination, and then take energy from that through your meditation to be able to help you to perform some task. You need to build up a cosmology of what this being is about, where it comes from, what its intention is for yourself or for your group of people, and also in terms of function. You have to think about which locations it can affect, and build up a folk myth of the egregore spirit. Create or use sacred words or sacred names to call this particular being into existence, and of course to bid it farewell afterwards. You ascribe to it some kind of rank in relation to you as humans, in relation to other humans that you might be affecting. You ascribe to it personality or character. Again, you can use names, colours, planetary symbols and all the rest of it to give it that character. And the more you build this up through meditation, the more you're building this up in your own mind, in the mind of the group, and it becomes a means whereby a group can then communicate with each other on an astral level. But that's essentially how they're created. The word egregore could, or the idea of the egregore spirit, could also be applied to the spirit of a place. For instance, my house. Alright, I call it my house. In my mind, I've already labelled everything in it as being in my house. I've labelled in my mind the walls, the windows, and everything in it as being mine. I therefore perceive this already as being mine or a part of me. Through my prayer and meditation, I can use the idea of my house to communicate with my body through dream work, for instance. So if I detect in my dream that there's something wrong with the loft or the attic, then it's probable that I've got a headache or an allergy complaint that's affecting my head, maybe. If I've got a problem with my eyes, maybe even the windows, which would have a similar meaning to the windows of the soul, namely my eyes, would, in my dream and meditation work, have some kind of problems or issues with them. But the symbology of your egregore and the symbology that you apply to it is unique to yourself, if you're working on an individual level. However, many people would want to use the idea of the egregore spirit to take energy and then to direct it. This is probably one of the reasons why the religion of Christianity has become quite so powerful. There are so many people who are believers in the egregore spirit of Jesus Christ, that this particular spirit has been given tons of energy, which can therefore be channeled through use of the holy words or the holy names such as Jesus. And through various forms of Christian prayer and ritual, whereby the practitioners actually lock into the egregore energy itself. This probably explains also why some forms of Christian spiritual healing are in fact quite so powerful, because they're all taking it from the same force which has been defined by a name, by a character, by a rank, by a personality. There is the folk myth of the character Jesus, which is of course in the New Testament. And therefore there is a full understanding amongst Christians, a cohesive understanding, and I think that if you're working with a group of people, a cohesive understanding is important. If, however, you want to take from any other culture, you've got to use their names and their ideas and their symbols. You've got to have done some academic research, so you don't just hang a dream catcher up in your window and say, oh, I'm connecting with the American Indians now. You've got to work out how the dream catcher was used. You've got to try and find some of the rituals of Dreamcatcher, alright, and then to apply that through your prayer and meditation so the thing can actually catch dreams, send dreams, or whatever it is you want the object to do. You can also adjust the idea of the creation of the egregore spirit to be used for the creation of familiars. Alistair Crowley said that your familiar spirits are literally familiar in the fact you make them almost as if they are a part of your own family. Let's say, for instance, you've got skill with either woodwork or working with clay. Why not actually make it? Physically make an animal representation or a humanoid representation of your particular servitor, and then communicate with that through your prayer and meditation over a number of, not days, not weeks, maybe months, to make the idea really strong in your mind. Create the folk myth about it, and then send out the astral being from your little representation to do a task. Again, it's all good fun, it's all very experimental, and I'd encourage you to essentially have fun with the ideas and play around with them. Alright? Good fortune and God bless. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.